Okay, so we're gonna get started. So thank you again for your time and doing this with me. How are you feeling?
Well, right now I am feeling relieved, and more than anything, I think hopeful of what's to come. But yesterday was the emotions ran high, and checking on my family constantly. We got no sleep last night, but as of right now, we definitely feel like it's the first time that in a very long time that we're not just watching; we are seeing something happening.
So to clarify, I know you shared with me that you are in the US. You came here in
Yes,
2016, if I'm correct.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes.
So why did you come to the US? So explain it in your own words.
So my mother was a public school teacher, and at around the year 2013, what happened was that Hugo Chavez died, and they started to implement this curriculum at the schools that you had to teach about, how great of a guy he was and how wonderful it was to be under his leadership. And my mother being in a public school, those were the first ones that were targeted. So my mom decided not to do that and not to participate and partake in any of those activities. And that unfolded into political prosecution. My father was a bank manager, and Chavez used eminent domain to take over the entire banking industry. 75% of the banking industry was taken away. He lost his job. So really, we had no way of being there and sustaining ourselves, and then we were at risk of political risk. They were staying, following my mom after school, and my mom had to go to a psychiatrist because she felt like she was going crazy. And it was just really a mix of things that kind of made us come here, and that I've been here since 2016. So
How
yes,
old were you when that happened? How old were you when you
I
moved?
was 16 years old.
16. Wow. That must
Yeah.
have been a big adjustment for you.
Absolutely. It was huge. I wouldn't have it any other way. I will tell you that. I am extremely grateful to my parents every single day for having brought me here and being able to get an education, being able to learn a new language and all those things. It's been a whole new experience for me, but you know, we shouldn't have to. We never had to leave our country. That wasn't meant to be the thing that we ended up doing. We were supposed to stay. We were supposed to, go to university in Venezuela. We were supposed to have our industries and get a job and, but it's just socialism and a
So
mix of things.
From here, I could take three different angles because of what we are hearing, especially on social media, especially in the US. But let's focus on what went down earlier today. So people are arguing, and I'm going to share this interview with the Hungarian audience as well. And also there, even though we survived the change of the regime, people are still saying that basically America interfered, that Trump had no right to do this, that he breached an international law and, went against a sovereign nation. So, what is your take on that as a person from Venezuela?
And I will say that a lot of people have had things to say this morning. When I woke up, many of my American friends were very vocal about what had happened and how it had happened and very critical of the actions that were taken. But my approach is, there have been uprisings and there were protests in 2016. We had an election last year where Maduro lost by over 70% of the votes. And I just questioned them. I said, where were you then? Why weren't you outraged? Why weren't you speaking out for the Venezuelan people that have been fighting this guy since 2002? And he won the election in 1998. So this regime has murdered, imprisoned, changed the entire game plan around Venezuela. Nobody's free to do this interview. If I were in Venezuela, I would not be able to do this interview with you because
I'm gonna
as soon
inter
as it goes live, yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna interject because I did a couple of interviews before you, and some are from Venezuela who are actually still there physically, and they all said no for a video interview. They were okay to answer my questions, but still, so I completely understand what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. And it's scary. Even for my family yesterday, the electricity was cut off completely. They had no way to access their phones and send information because of the signal, the I don't know what you would call it, the satellite for the phone data was taken off. So it's just way more than just what happened here. And, you know, Marco Rubio said it today, there have been chances for them to flee peacefully. You know, they have been given chances to go to Russia. They have been given chances to go to Mexico. They have been given chances to go to Cuba, Iran, everything in good deals, in good terms. You know, you get to keep some of the money you stole. You get to bring your family with you. But they keep rejecting because they're so power sick that they just can't let go. And this is, you know, something that's been coming. I don't see it as a surprise. I don't see it as a shock. I see it as a good thing, as something that was necessary.
So, since you are so eloquently, you know, expressing really what you feel, I want to go a little bit further on this one. So, would you say that a country can interfere in another sovereign country's affairs at the moment when that given country can't sustain itself or can't protect herself? You know, like here we have a regime, and the Venezuelans could not throw that regime, you know, away for 26 years at this point. So do you think it's justified that here is another sovereign nation and came in and, let's say, helped? Because, you know, at the moment there are so many questions about the intentions of the US. But let's say that they really went in to help you.
What I will say to that is that in the last 26 years, we have had foreign interference, active foreign interference. There have been reports of Hezbollah and Hamas operatives in Margarita Island. There have been reports of Chinese foreign nationals digging our gold out of the mines and taking it straight to China. You know, the Russians are controlling all of the diamonds, and every single diamond mine is controlled by the Russians. And then the Iranians are taking all the oil because that's the only way that they can, you know, kind of clean their assets, pass them through a filter, is through the Venezuelan oil. So we have had this foreign interference that everybody's talking about, and everybody seems to be going so out of their way to call it out. But it's been like this, just with not with the right people. You know, we've been supporting terrorism. We've been supporting Islam. We've been supporting insane ideas that do not contribute to our values. And this is not who Venezuelans are. You know, our official religion is Catholics. We do not have a lot to do with different religions. We are very varied people, but we just keep to ourselves. And we have, you know, families, everything. Family is the core of our world. And seeing these things and these foreign interferences, I feel like the US intervening is absolutely necessary because my values, as I was brought up in Venezuela for 16 years, align more with an American family than they do with an Iranian family or with a Hezbollah family. You know, it's totally different ideals. So I feel like this is not foreign. We're just going back to where we were before.
I really appreciate your answer. I didn't want to give you an angle with my questions, so I appreciate, you know, that you raised awareness about this. And maybe, I think you are based somewhere in the East Coast. I don't know if in New York City or something, but today at Times Square, people were already out, you know, protesting against Trump. The same people in Kafia, you know, with the ready-made signs. And so I wonder what your message would be to those people at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually in South Florida, and all I have seen, the videos coming out of South Florida, we have a huge population of Venezuelan immigrants, is people are taking on the streets and crying and saying, thank you, President Trump. You know, and you might see the video and you say, wow, these people are so dramatic. But when you think about the fact that we have fought and young men and women have died, 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds have died on the streets trying to get this freedom, trying to get this guy out of power. And it's happened. So in South Florida, it's been a positive response across the board. You know, Democrats, Republicans in South Florida. It's a different arena. Yeah. So everybody has been supportive down here. But I will say to those people that you know, are protesting, and they just, my first thing is get a job. You know, because you did it with Palestine, you did it with Israel. You just can't find a good thing to do for the world. And I would take it back to, where were you before? In 2016, in 2020, last year when we had the elections, why weren't you protesting for the freedom of Venezuela? That is my whole thing. Read a history book. Pick up a book at your local library.
And you know, that would also apply for the fact what communism and socialism means in practice, you know, so that's a whole different topic. But I want to dive into a little bit about the statements that some people are making that Trump only did what he did because of the oil sources and resources that are in Venezuela. So let's say that that is his only intention, to get to the oil. What is your take on that?
Well, my take on that is a bit controversial because the United States built Venezuela's oil industry. You know, we wouldn't have what we have right now. All of the factories, all of the things that, transform the crude oil to gasoline to natural gas, all those things. The United States and Venezuela had a great relationship, and we signed agreements with ExxonMobil, with everybody, to just come into the country and establish themselves, teach Venezuelan workers. Of course, we would get a big chunk of the money that was used for the gas.
Mhm.
Yes, would they make money? Well, of course. I mean, who does that for free? So if it's all about the oil, it really belongs to the states, because they are the ones that came in, build the industry, and then were kicked out in 2007 via eminent domain also.
I don't think this is controversial, actually. I think it's, again, the fact that many people
Yeah,
don't understand. And,
absolutely.
it could be, and the other Venezuelans today, they said, at this point, even if they came for the oil, I don't care. I still gonna have a better life.
Absolutely.
So, that's that. And let's look into the future. What are your hopes for the next couple of months? What do you think is gonna happen? I know nobody's a future teller, but
I worry about instability.
Mhm.
Venezuela is an extremely fragile country right now, and sort of like a power vacuum that turns into chaos. I was listening to my family this morning when I called them, and they were saying that all the gas stations were shut off by the government. They're telling their guerrillas to not allow grocery stores.
Mhm.
They armed civilians, and they're just unprofessional military, just people dressed in civilian clothes, and they have like an AK-47, and they're standing like in front of grocery stores so people can't get food. So I do worry about something coming from the inside,
Mhm.
but I would say that I definitely want to see crucial and strategic planning, just like last night's attack. No civilians were dead. Nobody was killed who wasn't supposed to be killed. Nobody was taken out of the country that wasn't supposed to be taken out of the country.
Yeah.
So that same strategic thinking, we need to use it in the coming months. And I was happy to hear President Trump this morning when he said that, this is going to be something that we're all going to have to come together. Like, it's going to be Marco, it's going to be Hexa, it's going to be everybody coming into the table and figuring out what's going to happen. Because we just can't put a guy here. We just can't say, okay, here, you're the president, fix everything, because it won't happen like that. It's been 26 years of political, social, cultural, economical decline. You can't just pick it up in a year.
Definitely. Well, I know you had already quite a busy day, and I want to say a huge thank you. If you can tell me your age and what you're doing more so that I can keep track, for my records, who is doing what.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, my name is Jose. I am in South Florida, and I work in higher education. I work for a college, an online college, and I establish partnerships, take care of them in South Florida since it's an online college.
Mhm.
I make sure that all the relationships are working and things like that. And I'm Venezuelan American, born and raised there, 16 years of my life. I have a bunch of family there, and I'm 25 years old. So
Yeah, kind of made the
there's
math
that.
in my
Yes,
mind.
yes.
So really, I thank you so much for this. Your mom deserves a huge hug from all of us
Thank
because
you.
it sounds like, she really was a hero back then. I mean, what she did was stunning and
Absolutely.
fascinating.
Yes.
And I'm cheering for your country. I just really wish the best for your people and your country. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be here, and thank you for providing a platform for somebody who has lived experiences of what's really like, and what is really going on there. So
Matters.
I really appreciate you giving us a platform.